Hey, and welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to the 60-minute love letter we all love and know as the Ysn Power Hour, brought to you by our friends over at Toyota of Warren. My name is DJ, and I'll be your host for the next 57 minutes or so, talking to you about all kinds of things that is sports here locally, regionally, and we might even get into a couple national topics here. We are in the dog days of summer sports, ladies and gentlemen, and the second that baseball and softball fold up for the summer from a scholastic standpoint, it is tough sledding. I'm not going to lie to you. It is tough sledding, and there's a lot of kind of knee-jerk reactions and stretching some stories and trying to dig back in. Luckily for us, content-wise, it is just flowing like a river. But it is a Sahara Desert for topics during our talk shows. So that's why some are you're going to see a lot more interviews with our stuff, which I love. Interviewing is one of my favorite things that we do here, and talking to people, talking to coaches, talking to players, talking to community members that are all about sports. And how we can continue to raise the level of athletics in our area for our student athletes. Today on the show, we have a taped interview that we did at Coca's Pizza a couple weeks back with Jenna Treveri, a name that should be very familiar to you if you follow Canfield sports at all. If you follow local sports at all, the last name is going to be very familiar to you. Treveri's not only a great athletic family, but a phenomenal family all around. One of my favorite families, but they're like super athletes. They're all of them. And Jenna, I think, and I told her this during the interview, she's probably going to be the best out of all of them, and that's saying something. That is saying a lot of something. So make sure you stick around and listen up for Jenna Treveri, who we're just a few moments away from that. So other things we're going to talk about today, I want to know from you, what is the best sport for sportsmanship? What is the best sport for sportsmanship? And I don't want to get in on like all the warm and fuzzies, but as an outsider, I look at some of these sports and I go, wow, this sport just continues to send out good sports, like good sportsmen and good sportswomen. I guess you can add that to it as well. But it's one of those things where I'm having a hard time in my mind breaking and ranking these sports as, okay, if I sign my son or my daughter up for this sport, they're going to be a good sport because it's mandatory. It's mandatory in this sport. Now, it's mandatory in all sports, right? But there's grades and levels and shades of gray of how sportsmanlike you have to be, and how much you can get away with and being a good sport or being a bad sport. So I want to talk about that with you. So if you're watching this, leave something in the comments and we'll try to address it. But I have not a ranking, but I have my thoughts on some of the sports that I think create the best sportsman-like product out there across the board. So we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. But first, we're going to get to Jenna Treveri and see what... Okay. All right. I thought the computer shut down. We're going to get to Jenna Treveri and see what she had to say live. Well, I guess not live. It's taped from our friends over at Coca's Pizza. So here she is, ladies and gentlemen, Jenna Treveri from the Canfield Cardinals, the state runner-ups. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. DJ Oakley with you for another player profile. This one from the Canfield Cardinals, live right here from Coca's Pizza. We are joined by the leadoff hitter and a young lady where you know the last name very well if you've ever been on YSN, Jenna Treveri. What's up?
Hi, how are you?
Oh, it'd be helpful if I turned your microphone off. That usually starts. So I'm 0 for 1. You don't go 0 for 1 very often. To be the leadoff hitter for this team that's going to state semis, what is it like for you to kind of set the tone?
It's really good. I mean, there's not really a lot of pressure on me because I know that there's always somebody else, like Gianna after me. She's a really good hitter, and I know that she'll always get on base too.
Well, I can't imagine there's any pressure on you with that last name of Treveri. I mean, it's like an athlete freak show family that you're able. It's like in your blood. It's in your DNA to be a great athlete. What's it like after a game, good, bad, and different, going home and talking to your family?
Well, good. It's like my parents. They always tell me the truth. If I have a good game, they'll let me know. If I have a bad game, they'll let me know. So it kind of just depends on the night.
Now, your dad, you say if there's a good game, he'll let you know. Is it good game, let you know you had a good game, but this is what you could be doing better? Or is it like you're daddy's little girl and he leaves it alone and then mom picks up the slack?
Well, my mom really doesn't say that much. She'll sometimes just agree with my dad. But
Shout out to mom.
But mostly it's just a good game. I mean, he'll say some stuff here and there, but it's stuff that I should already know.
Who gives you the most grief? In the family, not just mom or dad. It could be siblings. It could be anybody.
Probably my brother.
Shocker. We're all shocked.
Yeah, because he's been through it all, and he knows.
Jay?
Yeah.
And he's a legend in his own right. I mean, he's going to have a statue and an enshrinement at YSN when it's all said and done. This team, what a special year it's been for all of you. What ultimately, other than a state championship, what ultimately do you want to get personally out of this? I know you don't do a lot of personal goals or anything like that, but we just talked to Leah. She's a freshman catcher. As a freshman, you can learn a lot from these upperclassmen. You can learn a lot from these experiences. What things do you want to learn? What do you want to take away?
Well, I just want to learn, like, Milena. She's our pitcher. She's really calm all the time. Even in certain situations where it doesn't go her way, she's super calm. And when I get out, I want to be able to receive that calmness from her and just know that I'm going to get it the next time and have more confidence.
Do you even feel pressure? I mean, I feel like you've been in all the high-pressure situations that anybody can go through. I mean, you live in the fire. I mean, do you feel pressure at this point in your career?
Well, sometimes, but I just don't like putting that amount of pressure on me because at the end of the day, it's just a game.
That works. It always works. All right, let's do some rapid-fire questions here. Let's get off the field. Who are your role models?
My parents, for sure.
Why?
Well, they have taught me to be humble. They've taught me to have confidence in myself, and they've taught me to be a good person towards other people.
Best toppings on a pizza?
Pepperoni.
That's it?
Yeah, I'm
just
really
pep.
plain.
Okay. What is the go-to drink after a game? Like to kind of just relax a little bit? You
Honestly,
know, is it Gatorade, water? What is it?
Just water.
Just water?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I'll drink, like, Pepsi products,
Yeah.
but I really like drinking, like, water and having some lemon in it, but not too much.
I love that Jenna just got her Pepsi NIL deal just locked in for 4 years from now, right here on the show. Mark it down. What's the go-to movie?
I don't really watch that much movies. Like, I'm not really big
Do you have
on
a favorite?
That. Not really, no.
Are you a Disney girl? Like when you were younger, were you a Disney girl?
Yes.
Okay.
But I like watching shows.
Shows, all right. What's the shows?
Well, my favorite show at the moment is Vampire Diaries.
There it is. And it starts. What's your favorite social media network?
Probably TikTok.
TikTok? Who do you follow on TikTok?
Well, all my friends, but
I still don't know how to do any of that. Like, TikTok just comes up, and I have no idea.
Actually?
Yeah, I don't have any clue how to follow anybody on TikTok. These random people just come up, and I think that's TikTok. Who is the funniest person on your feed on TikTok?
I don't really know. I mean, I kind of think my sister's pretty funny.
That works.
She just makes videos, and she's so careless. And
who is one person on this team that should not have a TikTok? Coaches
Leah.
Included.
Leah.
Leah?
Yes.
Okay. Who is the leaders of this team? Who are the leaders of this team?
Honestly, everybody plays their part, but I would feel as Gianna, Milena, and honestly, all the seniors.
8 seniors. That's nice to have, right?
We've all learned from them.
Why do you want to win the state championship for the seniors?
Because honestly, they deserve it. They deserve all this. They've been through a lot, and I feel as if seniors just need this.
All right, last question for you. We've already done the role model question. what is your favorite place to go that nobody would expect you to be?
Well, I really like eating sushi.
Really?
Yes.
What kind of sushi do you go for?
The most random kind.
Really?
That's for
Like
sure.
if you see like the Spider-Man roll or the Lion
Yeah.
King, you go after that?
Yes.
Do you even read what's in it?
No.
You just go after it.
I don't like reading what's in it.
Have you ever had bad sushi?
Yes.
Have you ever had great sushi?
Yes.
Where's great sushi?
Well, I've had some down in like Florida, but I've also had at Azumi.
Zumi, where's that?
It's by like you know the store Gabe's?
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's right in front.
Yeah.
They have like the weird like fireworks things.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm down. All right, yeah, I've had that. All right, so last question for you officially. This team ranks where on your list of teams that you've been on?
Probably one or two. I mean, I had a really special basketball group, so.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
This is just the beginning, young lady, so you better get comfy because you got a lot of years left and YSN's going to be hitting you up. You'll be the best known Treveri by the time this is all done.
Thank you.
Jenna Treveri, ladies and gentlemen, we're out of here from Coca's Pizza. Thanks for the time. We'll see you next time right here on your Sports Network. So there it was. Once again, DJ Yoakley messing up the microphones. Jenna Treveri is, again, can't speak highly enough about her family, can't speak highly enough about that young lady. And ultimately, as that was recorded, that was a Friday, I believe. No, that was a Tuesday. That was before the state semi. That was before all the state semifinal. That was before all that happened. Obviously, we know Canfield comes up a little bit short on that, but the identity of that team is not broken because they didn't win that championship. And the identity of that team will forever be that you have so many just passionate young ladies that love the game of softball, but love each other more. And they love playing for each other, playing for their coaches, playing for their community. And Jenna Treveri is one of the leaders, even as a freshman, that is going to be around for a long, long time. So looking forward to watching her years progress, in her career progress right here on YSN in Canfield. So congratulations again to Jenna and the Lady Cardinals on their state runner-up, distinction and honor, and an honor it certainly is. So thanks to Jenna for hanging out with us. Thanks for Coach to setting that up. And then, so I got some texts during that interview, and people are already hitting me up with, if you don't talk about this sport, you're way off the base. And what I'm telling you, we're talking about right now, switching gears to the best sport for sportsmanship, the best sport for sportsmanlike behavior and sportsmanship in general. Now let's break this down. What is sportsmanship? Sportsmanship to me, and I'll do the old cheater way of starting a speech, right? Sportsmanship. Okay, so the cheater way, like kids ask your moms and dads whenever they were in school, is to go on the internet or go into the dictionary. Merriam-Webster defines sportsmanship as, and that's how you'd start your speech. So we're going that route, and we're gonna check out what. And I don't know why this computer just keeps on spitting this out. So we're having some snafus here on the Ysn Power Hour, folks. Okay, sportsmanship, fair and generous behavior or treatment of others, especially in a sports contest. Okay. Kind of vague, kind of not cool, but here's sportsmanship to me, right? Sportsmanship to me is being a good winner, being a good loser, right? There's the quote out there, there's no such thing as a good loser, just da-da-da-da-da. There are. There are good losers out there because they're confident in their talent. They're confident in their abilities. and they might not have been able to get things done that day, or their teammates might not have been able to get things done that day, but you don't make a big deal about it, right? Life goes on. There's another game to be played. Sportsmanship to me is playing by the rules, within the rules, right? You can stretch the rules, but playing within them. Sportsmanship to me is being a great competitor, but not a jerk, right? There's a time and a place for everything. And for me, jawing, yipping, chirping, as the kids call it, there's a time and a place for all of that. And to me, it's part of the game. Some people get real bent out of shape over talking. It can be excessive. It can be too much. You can go too far. But it's all part of trying to break you down mentally. And I think that brings the sportsmanlike aspect of it. You can be mentally tough and just laugh at. I mean, when some dude's cracking jokes in the dugout, or somebody's cracking, one-liners that they think are good, and maybe they're really bad, but maybe they are really good. Sometimes they can get in your head when you're thinking about it. That's part of the game. That's part of the process, the competition. So what sports, out of all of that, what sports provide the best sportsmanlike activities and the most sportsmanlike athletes out of those activities? The one that comes to mind that I've been so impressed with, and anybody that knows me and we've had a conversation about this particular sport knows that I think this sport is not only on the rise, but I also want to have my kid or kids get involved with this sport, even though if you would have told me this 20 years ago, I would have said absolutely no way. That sport is wrestling. To me, wrestling is the absolute premier sport in sportsmanship. And I have my theories on why. But I also feel like it's very challenging in wrestling because you start with a handshake, right? Both competitors enter onto the mat. They shake hands, and then they grapple. And then after it's all said and done, after the minutes that feel like hours, I'm sure, when you're out there, it's you shake hands. One winner's raised, hand is raised, and one walks off. And you shake hands with the coaches, and that's it. What I've been really interested in, and I watch this every single time. Every single time that I'm watching this, I'm watching for something to go wrong, like for somebody to be upset and just walk off. And what I found is that just doesn't happen. And in the research that I've been able to do in all my spare time is you don't see that because it's like a 99% rate that wrestlers are sportsmanlike, because they have to do things very efficiently, and because they leave everything out on the mat. I mean, blood, tears, sweat, like flesh, they leave it out there. And a lot of times, I guess my biggest thing is, a lot of times for me, when you were beaten fairly, you can accept that. A lot of people can accept that. Now, nowadays, parents and pundits, and they can't for some reason. So it's just weird. Coaches are in that category somewhat as well. Like, there's one particular team that I always see that, there's an excuse every single time that they're defeated. You don't see that in wrestling. You never see that in wrestling. And if you earmuffs, by the way, not aggressive earmuffs, but earmuffs nonetheless, what you're going to find is when you go and talk to these coaches and you say, it wasn't your day. Now we just got our ass kicked. What? It's almost refreshing, right? It's refreshing to know that these coaches understand, these wrestlers understand that if they're not getting it done in the room, they're not going to get it done when the lights are shining bright down on that mat in front of mom and dad and aunt and uncle and Grammy and granddad and all those people. And coaches typically won't make excuses in the wrestling world for people who are defeated. They say that other person was the better person on that particular day, in that particular moment, because of their particular skill set. But you look at different sports, you look at football, we were the better team. They just made more plays. We were the better team. We just got screwed by the refs. We were the better team. We just had to play on a short. I don't hear wrestlers saying that. And that's, you can point at football, you can point at baseball, basketball, whatever sport, right? And they all do that. Baseball, I just talked to a coach, and he was upset. And he said, well, if we would have had everybody healthy, and listen, I have a lot of respect for this coach, and I even questioned him there, and I said, listen, if every team that you played had everybody healthy, you're probably not sitting here talking about coming up short. From that standpoint, you're probably out in the districts or out in, the sectionals or whatever it may be. I've never heard never. And I could be, the conversation could be short here, but I've never heard a wrestling coach, I've never heard a wrestler say, you know what? If this would have, or this or this or this would have gone my way. No, usually it's, I didn't have my best. That was the better wrestler that day. That was the, and you may look at that and say, well, that's not really sportsmanship. Au contraire, mon frere, I think it is. They shook the hand after they were defeated. And I'm telling you, there's no peer pressure to go out there and shake hands. It's you against another person. And if you have the stones to walk away and not shake hands and be accountable for that, right? When there's 19, 20 people in a handshake line and you pull your hand or do something along those lines, there's like a 2% chance that people see that. Like your parents, your relatives, that's like the only people that are watching you walk through a group sportsmanship line. And I don't think that takes guts. In fact, I think that's more cowardly to do that. But if you're one-on-one and you're expected to shake hands at the end and you don't, there's a lot of people that will see that. You automatically take accountability for that. You own that moment. Good, bad, indifferent. And from there, you will have to deal with the consequences. Good, bad, and indifferent. Wrestling, it just doesn't happen. I don't know that I've ever seen someone not shake hands at the end. And not that shaking hands is the be all or end all of what this is, and what this is about. But you look at this and you wonder, right? Sportsmanship. What does it mean to our kids nowadays? How are our kids, especially given the content that they consume, the content they see on YouTube, the content they see in our professional ranks? I don't know about you folks, but it scares the hell out of me watching professional sports right now and seeing what potentially my kids will be watching if they enjoy sports, and seeing how they will implement that into their own game. Now, don't get me wrong. There are wonderful stories. There are wonderful role models and athletes. And don't give me the Charles Barkley, I don't need to be a role model. I'm sorry, when you're in a public space, if you're in a public figure, no matter what you're making, and especially if you're making a lot of money and people look up to that, because the ultimate value, right, for the majority of people in our population is how much you make. The sportsmanship at the professional level is garbage. It is bad. Bad. And it makes for good TV. But that doesn't do much for when our kids are watching. When those developmental opportunities are there, I feel bad saying, man, I should really turn this off right now. I really want to watch it. I can handle this. My buddies can handle this, but my 5-year-old watching the NBA finals or whatever it may be, I don't want them emulating what that is. And I guess when you're a parent, you see things in a different light. Like when someone charges the mound, I get up. I'm ready. I'm here for it. I want to see how this goes. But now, when someone charges the mound and I'm sitting on the porch and Junior's sitting right next to me, okay, where's the remote? How do I change this before something happens? Because the last thing I want is for Junior to be sitting there and his coach accidentally brushes him back in T-ball and he goes after him with a bat. It's a scary thought. It is a terrifying thought to be able to watch this stuff and think, oh my gosh, will my kid emulate that? Is that going to be my kid out there that's going to pull that stuff because they watch this at the professional level? Let's get to some comments here. Anthony says, we talked a lot of wrestlers this year with Gary Altizer, never had excuses. I couldn't agree with you more, Ant. Couldn't agree with you more. I think they serve as teachable moments. Okay. Sam says he thinks they serve as teachable moments. I don't disagree with that, but I'm going to play devil's advocate here. And I'm not going to be that guy that listen, I let my kids watch not pretty much whatever they want, but I let them watch some stuff, right? Like they do have to, when they're watching, they have to have some educational value to it. But like sports should be educational. It should be informational. And it should also entertain. But what I'm seeing at the very professional level, and I maybe I shouldn't use the professional level, is that there is a lack of sportsmanship. And it's beyond a lack. It's missing. And it's missing in so many ways. In so many ways. It's all about showmanship. It's all about making yourself stand out from your teammates. It's all about me. And I can't. The guy that used to love that at 22 hates it at 38. Despises it. There are exceptions, right? When a batter hits a home run in a big moment and they flip the bat where most people freak out, I go, who cares? That does nothing. It does nothing. You've already executed the play. Now, there are exceptions, right? But that's certainly a showmanship moment. But that's a level of excitement. Some of these you watch and it's adrenaline, and some of these you watch and it's almost predetermined. Like I'm either going to do a bat flip because I hit a home run or I'm going to break this bat over my knee. But either way, you're going to be looking at me for attention. You're not going to take your eyes off of me and look at the pitcher or look at what's going on in the Jumbotron. You're going to look at me. That can be a little much. And when you're looking for teaching moments, I guess where I'm at is I'm tired of looking at things and saying, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do. There should be somewhere along the line that we go, that is awesome. Right? And so often anymore, because everything's on television or streamed or, it's hard. It's challenging to point at moments and go right there. I saw one today. It was, I want to say it was an interview from softball players, and they were spot on. And if you haven't seen it, it's all over social media right now. I apologize for not remembering the names of the particular players, but what I can tell you is they got real. And what I'm finding is softball at all different levels is one of the most incredible team sports you can sign your kid up for. Sportsmanlike. Now, a lot of that comes from coaching. A lot of that comes from, let's face it, young women listen way better than young men. Coaches will tell you that. They will tell you that openly. They will tell you that without a hint of feelings bad about it. They'll tell you that. A lot of it has to do with when you're 16 and the testosterone's pumping and those hormones are going. You think that you're invincible. Nobody can tell you anything. And as someone who was like that, I'm going to tell you the same. But again, things change. 22-year-old DJ sees things one way, and 38-year-old DJ sees things completely different. But I understand where 22-year-old DJ was. I need to stop talking about myself in the third person. Like The Rock is what I need to do. But the sportsmanship aspect of it, softball, wrestling, they're at the top of my food chain there. They're at the top of my power rankings for sportsmanship. I don't know why softball. I've been trying in my mind to understand how softball and baseball, which are the same exact sport, minus a pitching mound and a little bit shorter of distances for softball, how this sport that I love so much in baseball can't take the aspects that are so great about softball. Oh, and here's the thing. It's not getting them for the first time. It's getting them back. It's getting them back. When a young lady hits a home run in softball, in the college ranks, in the high school ranks, even in the youth ranks, the infielders come in while the person who hit the home run is running around the bases, and they comfort their teammate. They comfort the pitcher that just gave up the long ball. I went to a baseball game yesterday. Again, looking for teachable moments. Not exactly the best game for my Pittsburgh Pirates. But I'll tell you this. They gave up 7 runs in the first inning. And the Boo Birds were not only out, it was like they were everywhere. Like cicadas. It was loud. And my son looked at me and he goes, "Why are they booing our guy?" And I guess I didn't have an answer. And somebody stepped up and said, "Because he stinks." I laughed just like that. I just chuckled. And I guess I looked out and I was like, that's somebody's kid. That's a 23-year-old man out there getting paid. I get it, professionally. But I'm trying to understand, and nobody went to comfort that pitcher whenever the home run was hit the way that they do in softball. I saw it in high school. I saw it in college. And what's terrible is you see these people that go to these games professionally and they translate it to high school and college. I've been a part of conversations where grown adults are saying that kid stinks. The kid is 14. And he could probably strike you out. But instead of teaching sportsmanship and being a sportsman or sportsmanlike, we always default to they stink. They are bad. Not good. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. Mark Roth chiming in says, sad when that negativity, translates back to youth and all the way up to college. No doubt. Now, Mark, I think you get it. Now college, more than ever, has turned into a professional atmosphere because some of these kids are making money on NIL deals. So anytime there's a dollar amount, the expectation goes up. And I think that is another trait that needs to be learned at the college level. But that's what college is for, is learning. And I'm not saying be soft on these professional athletes by any means, right? You have the right to go in and boo with your ticket. But I guess what I would ask you, if we're talking about sportsmanship, what are your expectations for sportsmanship, right? If you could talk to that player one-on-one. We had the great fortune, and I'm not trying to rub this in. We'll get into this in a few minutes. This was my son's first baseball game yesterday. First Major League Baseball game. Took him. It was a 12:35 start in Pittsburgh. Pirates taking on the Athletics. Athletics beat the living crap out of the Pirates in the first inning. And while all this booing is going on, there's moments there. Sam talks about teachable moments. There's moments, right? Here's a teachable moment. It's the first inning. You're down 7-0. You can pack it up and walk away, be a terrible teammate, or you can stick it out and understand that you've got 9 at-bats to get 7 runs. So if you get a run every single inning for 9 innings and you hold them to none the rest of the way, you win the ball game. He looked at me and you could see he was trying to process it. And then you hear, well, how often do we do that? They stink. The Pirates are often da-da-da-da-da-da. Let's rewind 20 minutes, okay, from that moment that was going on. We were in the front row, okay? First game, we go big, right? You treat your son to a baseball game, his first ever time. You want him to go back, you blow it up. We are, I'm not kidding you, from the camera to me. We have Rodolfo Castro, who is the shortstop that particular day. Brian Reynolds, who is an all-star outfielder for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And one of the greatest Pittsburgh Pirates of all time, Andrew McCutchen, who literally are within high-fiving distance. And the same person who was denouncing the Pirates because they stink was asking for their autograph 20 minutes earlier and getting their autograph 20 minutes earlier. Later in the game, 5th inning, I believe, talking about, McCutchen can't hit the ball anymore. He's too old. Da, da, da. First off, he's 36. Secondly, why didn't you say that to him right there? You see, for me, it all comes down to some of the things that you say, and people call me many names all the time. And I'm fine with that. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But you're going to get me straight. I'm not telling anybody anything that I wouldn't tell anybody to their face, specifically. But we've gotten so bold with the age of typing things and being a keyboard warrior that we've lost not just sportsmanship, but we've lost the element of being kind and being respectful for people that apparently we can just be loyal to whenever the timing's right. I saw a grown man, 40, 50 years old, asking for an autograph from Andrew McCutchen, which I'm like, hey, man, that's really cool. But at the same time, 20 minutes later, you're going to trash the guy. 30 minutes later, you're going to trash the guy. He gave you an autograph. He gave you time. He made your day in that moment. I saw your face. It was incredible to me. And yet, they'll continue to type it up or yell it out. But if Andrew McCutchen was standing right there and you told him he stunk, you're probably not getting that autograph there, Pedro. Ain't happening. We live in a world right now that there's no accountability for our actions. And for me, sports is the one place that you can keep it. You can keep that accountability because you have sportsmanship, you have rules, there's people watching you, and everything that you do, you should be accountable for because the red light is on, baby. The red light is on. Everybody makes mistakes. Mistakes are okay, but it's only a mistake if you learn from it. Otherwise, it's a habit or a pattern. Right now, we've got bad patterns going on in youth sports, in high school sports, in college sports. Mark says, baseball has such a high rate of failure built into the game, but some people / fans are so critical of every play. Those people don't need to be at baseball games, Mark. I think you and I have had this conversation. Those people don't understand baseball. They don't appreciate baseball. They don't appreciate softball, right? Diamond sports are special. There's no time. Well, I guess there's a little bit of a time limit now, but there's not supposed to be a time limit. That's what makes baseball and softball, for that matter, perfect, right? I will say that I do love the pitch clock. I do, and I'm not apologetic about it because there's an abuse of power on that mound, most certainly. But baseball is a game of failure. Most sports are. And people can't appreciate failure because those people are usually the ones that fail and stop. They fail and they quit. And maybe that's thinking out loud here. Maybe that's the problem. Is that not the expectations are so high, but they have such poor expectations for themselves that they think that their heroes are going to quit on them. And that's unfortunate because many of these people do not. And many of these athletes will not quit. It's just not going to happen. Sam chimes in, says, there's a sense of entitlement to have expectation of play level that comes when people pay for the ticket. People wrongly feel that they are owed perfection with any purchase. People wrongly feel that they are owed perfection with any purchase. That's interesting. I guess I can only speak from personal experience. I don't feel like when I buy a ticket that I'm going to go and see a perfect game. In fact, I'm almost wanting the imperfect game. I want imperfections, because I want to see something that I'd never see again. And maybe that is a perfect game, obviously, but I want to see something that's, I want somebody to hit a 450-foot blast, because I can't do that. I can't do that without help from, supplements. Let's put it that way. But some of these people, if you go up to Mike Trout and tell him that he stinks because he went 0 for 4 one game, or because his team has never made the playoffs. How about basketball? You look at professionally, Jokic, his team's favored by 9 points and they lose by 3 at home. Booing them off the court. Where does sportsmanship start? Where does it stop? I certainly want to know where it starts. Because what I'm learning is it starts very young. And it's a lot harder. Listen, I've said this before, it is a lot harder to build a house than it is to tear it down. And I'm going to be honest with you. You got people that are trying to build houses and are building houses and are building careers and great, great athletes and athletic careers and all of that stuff. And you got a bunch of no-name jabronis that are knocking it down at every chance they get. They're not worried about their house. They're just worried about knocking you out of yours. That's okay. To me, that's okay, because most of these athletes have been through the ringer so much at some point and battled so much adversity at some point in their life that if you tell them they stink at a sport, they're just going to go out and dominate you. They're going to skunk you in basketball. They're going to knock the living daylights out of the baseball, or they're going to put you on your keister in football. Name the sport and imagine what they're doing to you. But at least in wrestling, at least in softball, there's respect. It's incredible. And I'm not talking about beer league softball either, for those of you trying to get crazy. Like that might be one of the least sportsmanlike sports in the history of mankind, is men's beer league softball. Don't even get me started on church league softball, because a lot of times that's worse than beer league. But in women's softball, girls softball, and I've seen enough of it to know, when a coach has a loss, they own up to it. Wrestling, when a coach has a loss, they own up to it. And a lot of times they're going to tell you that the other guy or the other gal or the other team were better. In so many other sports, I'm seeing these coaches talk about not the other team and praising the other team for what they did, but they want to get a jab there. They want to get their 5 seconds of fame. They want to get a little ink for next year. I don't know if they have sportsmanship classes that can be taken, but I think that a lot of us need to go back and get a GED in education and sports and sportsman-like habits, because it's empty right now. The tank is empty, folks. It's empty and it's troublesome. It's troublesome. And I'm not trying to get all preachy and be that guy, because listen, I've got my faults just like anybody else. There's times when I look down, I'm like, man, this is not good. We stink right now. That's okay, right? That it is okay. Sometimes it's just a exhale moment. Get that blood pressure down, right? But sometimes it's just who you are. There's a quote going around that, a few years ago, I thought I was just angry for a day. A couple years go by, and I guess that's just who I am now, right? It's incredible. It really is. How people can be miserable at sports And you're talking to a guy who loves sports so much that I made it a career. I made it my livelihood. You're going to be hard-pressed to find someone who loves sports more than I do. You are. That's not because it's just, I've loved it. I remember people making fun of me in high school because I didn't have anything other than sports shirts, right? That's okay. But the reality is, you can't be miserable all the time in sports. Even the freaking Oakland A's got 2 wins. They're the worst team in baseball. They probably celebrated like it was the World Series. Right? But when you're looking at the weight of, and then we're getting into wins and losses now, but when you're looking at the weight of wins and losses, fans, in a 162 game season, and no local team plays 162 games, maybe some of these baseball teams in the summer, my gosh. But when you're looking at a 162 game season, losing 2 games to the Oakland Athletics and then going and sweeping the Cardinals or vice versa, does it really matter? Like, they're not playoff games. There's no weight to it. Maybe division or you know, something along those lines. But sorry, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. But I am seeing this unsportsmanlike conduct. I am seeing a troublesome path that we're walking down as adults, that in 10 years, 20 years, we're going to look back and go, why are these kids like that? I'm afraid I've got some bad news. Who's got 2 thumbs and is a bad sportsman? That's the way it is. 20 years, we forget the things that we teach our kids in these developmental stages, these moments, right? Listen, everybody loves the Little League World Series because there's those moments of tragic and triumph and all of it rolled up into one, and coaches that are teaching their kids. For every one coach that is like that in the college, or the Little League World Series, there are 300 ones that are throwing their hat and kicking it and, throwing bats out there like they're Buttermaker. Who do we want to be? Like, who do we want our kids to be? That's the crazy part. When we do this stuff, you have to understand there's somebody watching. You got to live with that red light on, man. There's somebody watching. The good stuff that you do, they're going to want to do. But just as much, they're going to do the bad stuff. That doesn't stop in the home. That doesn't stop when you're a parent. Oftentimes, these youngsters are looking at coaches as role models. I used to think that my coaches were paid professionals, right? Not knowing that they were just moms and dads that signed up, that volunteered and said, I'll do it. That's the crazy part. I think we have to remember what it's like to be a kid and how influential these people are in our lives. If you see a teacher do it, if you see a coach do it, if you see a role model that you have, good, bad, indifferent, whatever your parents think, listen, they're kids. They're very influenced by things, especially by things that are out of character. So if you throw a hissy fit, or your players are throwing hissy fits, coaches, look around and see how many young eyes are out there. When you're standing at third base, or you're standing, on the sideline, and you see a young man or young lady acting a fool, being unsportsmanlike, do a quick search, do a quick scan around the area and see how many of these young people are watching, like on pins and needles. And understand that when you bring that young man or young lady into your locker room 10 years from that moment, they'll remember that. And they'll remember how that player was treated. Did you discipline them? Publicly, privately, whatever it may be? Did you pull them off the field? Mom and dad can't always sit there and be like, that's bad, that's bad, that's bad, that's bad. Because it's sooner or later, you're just a downer. You're just a Debbie Downer. And the kid's not going to shut it down. But that coach does something. I'm not going to you're not going to act like that on my field. You're not going to act like that when you're wearing those colors representing this community. Coaches shut it down. Guess what? That kid sees it. I better not do that or I'll never get on the field. I'm not saying it's as easy as that, but it's a start. It's a start. It's time for the Joe Dickey Electric What's Your Spark, presented by Joe Dickey Electric. Anything commercial, residential, anything industrial, you need to head over to our good friends over at Joe Dickey Electric. Visit them today on the web at dickeyelectric.com. Where's my spark guy? There he is. All right, so for the majority of this show, I've been referencing what I saw yesterday, and I apologize for not having a show yesterday. As I said I would. Here's the thing. I've waited my entire life, and for those of you who know the situation, that know what we're going through, that know kind of the background of the Yoakley story, you know that I've waited, and my wife has waited a very long time for moments, tiny little moments that some people get every day. For some people, it's just it was going to happen. And in life, you're not always promised things. And I'm not going to get preachy, right? I'm not going to go there. I'm learning. In life, you're not always promised things. You think your life's going to go a certain way, and then it doesn't. You think it's going to look like something, and it looks completely different. Yesterday, the worlds aligned. Everything was just absolutely perfect. And I was able to get two front row tickets to the Pittsburgh Pirates Oakland A's game. And it's summer. So my son, who is playing T-ball right now and tearing it up, might I add, proud father moment. I'm trying to get him to fall in love with the game. And I'm trying to get great opportunities and memories for him forever that he otherwise wouldn't have. And yesterday was one of the greatest days of my life. And I'm trying not to get emotional about, but it was the great day because it's that moment that you dream about. Taking your son to his first Major League Baseball game and just kind of having that out of body, experience, going down the stairs, and he's looking around. Where's our seat? Looking around. Where's our seat? Keep going. Keep going. Where's our seat? Then you get to the front row, and he just looks and takes in this massive structure that he's unlike anything he's ever seen before in his life. And just, you can see the love of that moment through the eyes of a young person. And you know what it's like because you were once that young person. And those moments are magical. And I've waited and I knew exactly I was going to pull that camera because I know, being 38 and already forgetting a lot of stuff, I didn't want to forget that moment. And it just, I mean, there's no other word other than magical. There's no other word other than precious, because like I said, you have Pittsburgh Pirates coming over. And listen, he has no idea who Andrew McCutchen is. He has no idea in 2013 he won the MVP. He has no idea that his autograph picture is in my my man cave. He has no idea the memories that this guy, this sports athlete, this role model to me, he has no idea who he is. He's just a dude in some white pajamas signing baseballs for dudes. So what does he say? He looks up at him and he goes, "Hey, you have my sunglasses on." That was the interaction with Andrew McCutchen. And Kutch nodded and laughed and, said, basically, if you want my shades, big man, stick around after the game. Now, as a 5-year-old, they're just going to, you try to get them as long as you can, right, for those innings, because they got long, especially after the first run. The first inning went 7 runs deep against us. It was tough. It was a very cool day. Sharing ballpark food, ice cream, having him ask questions about why they aren't hitting off the tee after they strike out. But the cool thing about it was, and I'm on social media, and if you know me, I try to stay as positive as I can, just so there's something out there for somebody to look at, right? Everybody's got bad days, and I have them too. And sometimes they're for me, and sometimes they're for other people. Most of the time, they're for me. But the reality was the comments that I got during that one picture, the engagement from the one picture, because a lot of people do know the story. A lot of people do know what's happening, and they understand. But the one thing, funny enough, there's Colin Chick. He says, "Great story. Love every minute of it. They grow up so fast." I got that. And I think every parent that saw that picture remembers that moment or moment that they had or wanted to have. So it was really interesting for me, and it really, really emotional for me to have that moment and to have that picture. And I mean, thank you to everybody who commented or engaged on that post, because I think the majority understand, the majority get it. And sooner or later, the story will come out. We will talk about it openly, because we believe in this mission that we're on, and this journey. And we think that, we're not special. My wife is very special. I am not. I'm just a dude that ran out of hair before he ran out of words to talk about, things to talk about. So I can't, that's one thing I'm very passionate about now is this particular mission. And I want everybody to realize that you don't have to be anybody special to do it. And you can do it, and you can change a life forever, including yours. So thanks to everybody for engaging on that. Thanks to everybody who took a moment to like, comment, share, whatever it may be. Meant a lot to me. Yesterday, being absent, not something I like being, but that was a moment that it just lined up. It was a gift from God himself on the 7th day of June here in 2023. And I hope you have a great 8th day of June in 2023. And we will see you tomorrow right here on the Ysn Power Hour. Scotty Mincher is set to join us. And not only that, but tomorrow we will unveil the Ysn, or I guess let's start that over. We will unveil the all Ysn team for baseball and softball tomorrow. And then we will let you know All-Stars starting this weekend on Ysn for the All-Star game, Bob Scene Park on June 24th, 2023, and at YSU for our softball game on the 28th of June, 2023. We're looking forward to those, some of the best nights of the year. God bless you. Thanks for listening to me ramble for 66 minutes, and I hope you have a great night and a better tomorrow. Talk to you later. Ysn thanks you for watching this presentation